Am I the unreasonable one for vetoing all my husband's choices of dog breeds? Our French Bulldog, he had him before we met, just passed at the beginning of the year. My husband really wants another. While I love the dog so much, I never ever want another Frenchie. I honestly don't even think they should be bred anymore. He had such severe breathing issues he would occasionally pass out from lack of oxygen. I would literally cry looking at him sometime, have just watching him struggle to even breathe just sitting there. Can't do that again. I personally would like to just go to a rescue and pick a dog. He, for some reason, has decided that if we can't get a Frenchie he wants a Husky or a freaking Belgian Malinois. We do not have the lifestyle for either breed and I feel both the dog and we would be miserable. I've put my foot down on them as well. He's saying I'm being controlling and that this should be a joint decision and I can't just say no. I think I'm being reasonable in how much dog we can handle. Am I the unreasonable one for vetoing the 3 breeds my husband wants? Update. After so many comments recommended it, I brought up a Greyhound rescue and he agreed to look into it. There is actually one about 20 miles away, so we will call and make an appointment to either look or talk about it. Not sure what steps this place takes. We have a fenced-in yard, no other animals and an established vet, for references if this place asks, so fingers crossed it works out. Thanks for everyone suggesting. Not the unreasonable one. It's just 3 breeds out of hundreds. And for good reasons. Why does your husband need a purebred anyway? Go to an animal rescue and give a lonely mutt a good home. Not the unreasonable one. You should both agree before getting another dog. Did you tell him your reasons for not wanting those breeds? Edited to change verdict. Husband called her controlling. He's DA. Am I the unreasonable one for being disappointed with my birthday gift? My dad married my now stepmom almost a year ago. She has 2 kids, and there's me. My stepsister, 13 years old female, got a new phone, Samsung Galaxy S20, if it matters, along with a cake and a surprise party for her birthday 5 months ago. My stepbrother, 20 years old male, got a new car, as well as €100 cash to go celebrate with his friends for his birthday 2 months ago. I turned 18 a few days ago. Pretty big deal, being able to vote and drink, get a license. And for my birthday I got a dress and 3 pairs of socks, and a warning that I had to pay rent now. Now I know my stepmom doesn't like me, that's no secret. Her kids don't do chores, so my stepmom and me each do 50-50-ish. I never complained about it, because I want her to like me. Her kids always come first, and I'm getting tired of it. Her son works full-time and doesn't pay rent, but I have to pay $200 a month, but I'm disappointed with my dad. They go 50-50 on expenses, including gifts. He paid €500 for a smartphone for my stepsister, €2,000 for a car for my stepbrother, and I get socks. I realize some people don't get anything, and I should be happy they're allowing me to live there and all, but I'm getting sick of being treated so differently from the other kids. I gave the dress back to my dad and told him I don't want it, and that this was a disappointment. My stepmom came in and she was mad, thinks I am an ungrateful child. My friends are on my side, but that's not saying much. Am I the unreasonable one for being upset? Not the unreasonable one. The part with the paying rent while her stepbrother doesn't have to while he has a steady income is pretty strange, and you should talk to her dad about that. Also, if her stepmom openly dislikes you, please let her dad know. This is not acceptable. Her dad should be there for you in this situation. Not the unreasonable one. Oh no, I hate to hear these situations. She is bad, but your dad is despicable. Is there any chance you can move out in near future? Take care. Am I the unreasonable one for telling my best friend I liked her better when she was fat? The title is horrible, but hear me out please. I have been best friends with Lily for 15 years. She has always been overweight, even as a kid. Come high school and college it became like 100 pounds overweight. She has some serious self-esteem issues stemming from this. I have been a little chubby my whole life as well, though not so much in recent years, so I was always able to empathize with her. So last year Lily hit 25 and gifted herself a personal trainer. This trainer literally changed Lily's life. It was like a switch got flipped and all of a sudden Lily just became so motivated. I was, and still am, incredibly happy for her. She lost 120 pounds, a whole person, and looks so much healthier. This real problem is Lily's entire self-esteem has always been tied to her weight, and that hasn't changed. It started maybe 40 pounds into her weight loss. She started saying pretty rude stuff about obese people. Then it's just gotten worse and worse. She joined this toxic group of people online who have lost massive amounts of weight. Lily showed me some of the memes and stuff they share there, and it's all vile fat shaming drivel. Everything came to a head over the phone the other night. We were just catching up and she starts talking about her brother's new girlfriend. Apparently this girl is very overweight. She was saying horrible crap, like brother is way too good for a fat slob like her. That kind of fat is just from pure laziness. Trust me, I know. She should know she isn't worthy of him, etc. I called her out of being such a bitch and she gives me this long rant about how she can say all these things because she knows firsthand there is no excuse to being fat. Her mentality is that being fat is a weakness of character and makes you lesser than average or fit people. Now that she is fit, she is better than them basically. It honestly made me sick. This is where I think I may have crossed a line. I told her in response that I honestly liked her better when she was fat, that her losing weight gave her a superiority complex and I'm sick of it. I told her to get over herself, then hung up. We have had spats before and they never really lasted for more than a day. It's been 3 and she hasn't spoke to me. I tried to reach out to bury the hatchet, but she is ghosting me. I need a third party to tell me if I crossed a line here. I know what I said was harsh, but at the time I really thought she needed a slap to the face. DLDR, best friend becomes a fat shamer after losing weight and I told her I liked her better fat. Not the unreasonable one, and honestly this reminds me of certain Reddit communities. Ex-fat people can be the biggest fat shamers and super self-righteous. I'm glad you called her out. Not the unreasonable one, honestly, you gave her a walk have up slap. Her behavior towards overweight people are her own projections of her feelings regarding her older self, and even if she's slimmer now she still hasn't got over it. It is toxic behavior and you called her out. You showed her that weight isn't everything that's valuable in life. Whether she'll take this opportunity for some introspection or reject it all and keep being a negative person is up to her. But you did the right thing in speaking up and confronting her about it. Am I the unreasonable one for not letting my husband name our son after his dead best friend? My husband and his late best friend Tom, not a real name, had been friends since childhood. They were extremely close. Tom died due to a parkour accident. Tom was an amazing person. He was incredibly kind and warm-hearted, and if the circumstances were different I'd absolutely want to honor him. Tom loved parkour, which my husband also did with him. But he stopped doing it after we got married 5 years ago. His greatest regret is not being able to be with Tom during the accident, so he could have called for help or been with him during his last moments. Now, he's taken up parkour at an obsessive level as if he wants to make up for it. He's gone to do parkour at hours every day. We spend virtually no time together, and he even brought up wanting to quit his job to be a full-time parkour YouTuber. He's convinced himself that him quitting parkour was the reason Tom died. I've begged him to see a grief counselor, but he says he doesn't have the time for it. Every day he comes home with new injuries, and I'm so scared I'm going to lose him the way Tom died. He wasn't very involved in my pregnancy for the first 4 months, which makes sense because he was grieving, but once he found out we were having a boy, he's been incredibly enthusiastic, but it feels like he's thinking of our son as Tom's reincarnation. It sounds crazy, but he'll force me to eat lamb chops at least twice a week, even though I hate lamb, because it was Tom's favorite food and he's convinced the baby loves it. He'll play this band I absolutely despise that him and Tom loved and put the speaker right on my belly. He'll reminisce about his memories with Tom while talking to the baby. My husband is naturally close to Tom's mom, and it's like she's in on it too. She gave us all of Tom's childhood stuff and keeps telling me stories about Tom's childhood, but in a way that sounds like she's expecting my baby to be Tom. I feel like I'm going crazy because I can't tell anyone I know that I think my husband thinks our son is the reincarnation of his dead friend. My husband also keeps talking about how he's going to teach our son parkour and they're going to do all these stunts together and relive all the things he and Tom did, which I said no to. My husband is an adult. I ultimately have no control over his hobbies, but I don't want my son to do something that dangerous. I've seen the injuries my husband have sustained and I know how Tom died. My son is not doing that. We've been fighting for the last 2 weeks because no crap, he wants to name our son Tom and I finally put my foot down and I said absolutely no way. I didn't say this to him, but I feel like I'd go absolutely freaking crazy if my husband not only treated my son like his dead friend, but literally called him by his name. His mom called me and said I was a bitter woman who was jealous of a dead man. My husband said I was a bitch and I never liked Tom, which is why I won't do the bare minimum to honor him. I feel like I'm going insane. Not the unreasonable one. It's more than a name. It's an obsession. You need to get him help, and if he refuses, you need to leave. Delusional behavior like this is dangerous to bring a new baby into. I'd say NaH. But your husband is more than grieving, he is completely unhinged. Putting himself in mortal danger to the extreme he is not okay. If it was just a name, Without any of the other craziness, I'd say level with him on it. Run, far. Holy crap, the level of insanity here is not coming from you OP, not the unreasonable one. But also please leave this man and keep your son safe. Added for those confused, she is not safe right now. Nor is her unborn child. She needs to get away from that environment. If the husband decides to help himself and seek help, she absolutely can choose to go back. But right now OP and her unborn child are unsafe and she needs to be somewhere safe. Therefore, she needs to leave right now. What happens later is up to what the husband does. No one is obligated to stay in an unsafe environment because they hope someone will not get crazier. Right now she needs to get away before things get worse, which is a very real and terrifying possibility. Only Reddit assumes that leave this man, he is being insane, means that's a permanent choice and things can't change in the future. Am I the unreasonable one for picking up my daughter from her father's after he refused to let me meet his girlfriend? I called my daughter's father to check up on her, and when I called I heard a woman in the back. I thought it was his mom or sister, and told him to tell them I said hello. He said it wasn't them and then tried to change the subject. I asked who it was then, and he said it wasn't my business and to not worry about it. I said that I didn't care who he hangs out with, but it becomes my business when that person is around our 2-year-old daughter. Eventually it came out that this was his girlfriend, and I asked if I could meet her if she was going to be around our daughter, or if he could maybe have her come by another day when my daughter isn't there, and if he couldn't do that then I'd feel more comfortable if my daughter came home with me. We previously agreed to wait until he met my boyfriend before bringing him around my daughter, and even then I waited until I was in a relationship with him for 6 months before allowing him into my home when my daughter was there. He got angry, told me to mind my business and then hung up on me. I texted his mom and sister and asked if they knew her and could vouch for her before making any irrational decisions, but they hadn't even met this woman yet. I texted my daughter's father asking again if I could meet her because I didn't want to take time away from them, but he just opened my messages and never responded. I eventually went over there, and when I got there his girlfriend opened the door while holding my daughter and her father was upstairs doing whatever. I told him I was taking her home because I asked that he'd let me meet this woman. And not only did he ignore me and tell me no, but he allowed our daughter to be by herself with her while he was upstairs for however long. I really don't care about who he has in his own home, but I do care who is around my daughter, especially when she is at an age where she can barely speak for herself. He is angry with me, and says I shouldn't have ever taken time away from him and his daughter, and I do feel bad for doing so, but he also refused to let me meet someone who was alone with my daughter, and I know he would be the same way if this was the other way around. We don't have a legal custody agreement, and just sort of came up with a verbal one. TLDR, my daughter's father refused to let me meet his girlfriend when he was letting her around our daughter alone. I was uncomfortable with my 2-year-old being around someone that I've never met. I asked if he could let me meet her or have her over there when our daughter isn't, but he hung up on me. This resulted in me going to pick up my daughter. Time for a legal custody agreement in writing. This all has to be spelled out. You don't know this woman, and he seems way too cavalier about the whole thing. An agreement in writing will eliminate any ambiguity. Not the unreasonable one. Sounds like your ex has a double standard. You couldn't introduce your boyfriend to your daughter until your ex met him. Also, the fact that your ex-in-laws haven't met her yet says how new the relationship is. Am I the unreasonable one for telling my siblings I don't care that both of our parents are dead? I know how that title sounds, but hear me out. I'm the third of 4 siblings and I had a pretty lousy relationship with my parents. Dad openly disliked me from day one because he believed that I was the result of an affair Mom had. She admits to the affair happening, but denies the other guy is my father. Mom resented me because she blamed me for the problems that belief caused between her and Dad. Neither of them were particularly subtle about their disdain towards me and I very much felt excluded / like the black sheep of the family my entire childhood. Things took a real nosedive when I was a teenager. Dad developed a drinking problem and he was a very verbally nasty drunk. I usually took the brunt of the emotional abuse he'd hurl out. On occasion he'd go for one of the other siblings and they could turn to Mom for comfort and they'd get it. When I went to her after he'd been lousy to me, she'd ask what I'd done to upset him, explain why I deserved it or just straight up ignore me. Dad officially disowned me as his son when I came out as gay at 16, and Mom stood by him. I moved out on my 18th birthday and went as low contact as possible. Despite him being the one to disown me first, Dad didn't take kindly to being cut off and did his damnedest to cause trouble for me afterwards. This includes, but is not limited to, him ruining one of my first real relationships by feeding my ex-boyfriend malicious lies, causing so much drama at my former workplace that I got fired and showing up to my wedding reception 4 years ago, despite not being invited, causing a scene and ruining the day. Mom, again. Stood by him and took his side through all of this. Dad died of pancreatic cancer 2.5 years ago, and Mom died of diabetes-related complications earlier this year. I didn't shed any tears or go to either funeral because both of them made my life hell. Next week would have been their ruby wedding anniversary. My siblings are arranging a celebration in their honor and asked me to come. I said absolutely not. When prodded for an answer as to why, I said that I don't care that they're dead, so why would I go to a memorial? My siblings are now chastising me that that's a horrible thing to say and they were still my parents no matter what, and I'm being childish / refusing to let go of the past. Are they right? Am I being an asshole? Not the unreasonable one. Why pretend the relationship with them was anything other than what it was? Do your siblings truly understand everything they put you through? It could be they see everything from your parents' side because they don't know or understand yours. Maybe a talk with them about why you feel this way might help them understand your view. Not the unreasonable one. You had a different relationship with your parents than your siblings and you are rightfully staying away from a celebration that you do not feel the same about. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell for more stories delivered to you. Thanks for listening. See you later.